The Fantasy Skirmisher.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fantasy Skirmisher. This is Nevin, and today we're going to look at Quest for the Lost Pixel. Do you remember the rogue-like video games of the 1980s and early 90s? Well, that's what this game is in board game form. So, what does this game come with? Well, it comes with 13 heroes, with standees, dice, but what you get is about 900 cards, quite a few. And you've got the rule book, you've got some smaller cards with potions and timers, and you also have, of course, the dungeon tiles. So this is not an inexpensive game. It's designed by Peter Jank, and it's got a lot of good buzz. I've heard nothing but good things about this. And when there was a crowdfund sale on the game on GameFound, I took advantage of it because it was a part of, I think, the last expansion. And so what this game does is you go through 10 different levels. So you've got first floor, monsters and treasures, and the monsters also include events as well. And what you do is you work your way up to level 10, where you find the lost pixel. So this game is not inexpensive. It is about $151 for the base game. But again, this is kind of, you order it, it's made and shipped out to you. It's a very indie design. And, I was thinking about just the price and, how much it cost. Then just yesterday, I picked up Lord of the Rings, the card game, still in shrink as you can see there. And it's about $50. I haven't looked because I bought this from a fellow gamer here in New York City. And I looked at the number of cards, and it's about 330 cards, around that. And so it's like a $50 game? So if you do the math, with this having 900 cards, quite a few, I think, the price isn't as shocking, as if you went to order and went $151 for a card game. So, but anyway, is it worth it? Well, that's what we're going to take a look at. So I'm going to play through this a bunch of times, and then afterwards come back and just give you my thoughts and do a little run through just to see how it works. But also want to mention that what this game does not come with is all these markers. So if you just have the base game without the expansion, there's an expansion that does come with markers. What you can do is just use little pip dice, especially for those of us who use those to score for the skirmish games that we play, such as Frostgrave and whatnot. But that's the one thing that's missing that is in the rule book. But like I said, just any type of little tiny D6 dice or beads or something like that will certainly work and suffice for this game. So anyway, I'm going to play this and we will come back. I've now got a couple of games under my belt, and in the first game I played the fighter character, and he died on the third floor, and he drew a event which was a dragon's horde trap, which put him over his health, and so it wasn't a very long game. Then the next right here, I decided to play with the adventurer. And he had a bunch of injuries from the fifth floor where he fought a boss monster that was enhanced. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But he goes down into the sixth floor, draws a tile. I should have backtracked, go here or here, but I went into the lava and realized, oh crap, I need to try to heal myself because he was just a point away from dying. I couldn't go any further. So I drew one of my 4 potions. You don't know what they are until you decide to drink it. And it turned out to be a venomous potion, which the effect is receive 4 damage tokens, then discard. And that put me over the 19 health he has, which killed him. So again, kind of a stupid move, stepping into the lava, which does 1 damage when you move into it. However, I was hoping to get through it and heal, but I was a little ambitious there. In the Quest for the Lost Pixel, the base game I'm talking about, not the expansions. You choose one of 13 heroes that are available. We have the fighter, a wizard, an alchemist, a mystic, a necromancer, a barbarian, a huntress, a paladin, a Valkyrie, a thief, an assassin, and a druid. And each of these heroes have a special ability, plus they have different stats depending on the type of character. So the main stats is strength, dexterity, and intelligence. And the D4, D12 you see here, that's the die roll when combating monsters using that stat. And that would also be used if you drew an event that happened to be a trap. Then there's the defense. This assassin has no defense value, but some do, such as the Valkyrie, which has a defense of 2. And that just helps you absorb damage inflicted by the enemy. And then finally you have the speed. And the speed is 4, I think, for most characters, but some, like the assassin here, is a little bit faster. And then you have equipment, of course, which could increase the speed, such as my normal boots, which I found on level 1. So again, each character has a special ability, such as this assassin here. Once per floor, you may immediately defeat any one non-elite monster during the encounter phase. So that's a pretty good ability. But all these characters have good abilities, and they all feel unique. Certainly the 2 that I tried. So what I'm going to do here now is just clean up the table, kind of start anew, start fresh, and just take you through the turn sequence to show you how the game is played. And then after that, I'll give you my final thoughts on what I think about this game. As I mentioned earlier, the goal of the game is to get through all 10 floors of the dungeon to find the lost pixel. And there's a lost pixel card that you would pick up. And then you need to find the portal, also on the 10th level or 10th floor, to be able to make your escape. When you do that, you win the game. So you've got 9 other levels to get through first, and hopefully you're getting experience points where you can level up your character. So to set up for a game, the first thing you do is you pick a hero. In this case, I have the Adventurer. That's the hero I played in the last game. He has 19 health. He has D8s for strength, dexterity, and intelligence. He's well-rounded. However, he has no defense and a speed of 4. His special ability is cool. At the start of each floor, including the first floor, you draw a treasure card. Also, the Adventurer can have up to 7 cards in his inventory. Normally, a hero can have only 5 cards, so that is very helpful. So I selected my hero, and then what I do is I take 3 gem cards for my hand, and these will really come in handy. So this is a part of that, well, in my case here with the Adventure, 7 hand limit. So the different crystals have different effects. They can help you defeat a monster, remove damage. In this case, that ruby would have come in handy had I had one. In the last game, they can help you with defense, attack. So they have different effects. So just make sure that you are playing those cards from your hand. And then what you'll do is you will take 9 dungeon cards, and you're going to add the stairs that lead down to the next floor, and then you're going to shuffle them up. So for a solitaire player, each game you've got 10 turns, so that's this timer here that you flip over each time to find that stairs going down to the next level. Sometimes you can find it quickly, sometimes that's that very last card. And so you just need to be mindful of how many turns you have. We are not quite done yet with our hero. The next thing we do is we select 2 spells, of which we only get to keep 1. So we have repel. This is done during the encounter phase, and once per floor is the restriction. The ability is to avoid all elemental damage from a monster's attack until the end of the encounter phase. So that's really nice. So is Divinity. It's used during the Explore phase, once per floor, and the ability is to remove 1d8 damage tokens from your hero. Both are very nice. I could only keep one. I think I'm going to keep Repel, because that may help me quite a bit, especially in more advanced levels. All right, so I think we are done setting up here. We have our adventurer with his beginning spell, who's got his initial hand of 3 crystals. He is at the stairs going down to the first level or first floor dungeon. And then what we have here is the timer card. So the first thing we do is we turn over a timer card, and then it's the explore phase. Explore simply means moving. So you can move like this. You cannot move orthogonally, and you cannot move onto a square that has a wall. So what we're going to do is we're going to move 1, 2, and he's going to move through here. So that's going to be his third move, but we need to draw a tile. So when you place a tile, you always put the arrow in the direction the hero is going. And this question mark means we're going to need to draw an event when we step onto here. So we place the tile down. That's his third move. He has one more after this. So we're going to draw an event. And the event is, it's a life pool. Remove 1d4 damage tokens from your hero. Well, that was a waste, wasn't it? Because we have no damage, because we just started. And then he did his final movement here. Next turn, he's going to either go through water or through acid. But now we move from the explore phase to the encounter phase. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a monster from the first floor monster deck, and it is a skeleton. The skeleton has 1d4 attack. He has a defense of 1, and he has no elemental attacks, but he does have an elemental defense of 1, and that one is called a dark attack, so he has a dark defense. So we're going to place this down. Let's move this over a little bit. And so the heroes always attack first, and if we could kill the skeleton, great, because if a skeleton survives, that's when the skeleton will attack back. So what we're going to do is we are going to attack with our D8 strength, but I just realized something. His special abilities at the start of each floor, including the first floor, draw a treasure card. I forgot to do that, so I am going to draw a first level treasure card. And what we have here is a longsword. All right, so boosts our strength by 1d4. It does not have any elemental stats, so no elemental attacks. So we're going to put that right by him. So in addition to his strength d8, because if he uses this strength stat, he can also use a d4. So we're going to roll a d8 and a d4. Where's the d4? Here it is. We're going to roll the dice. And I rolled a 3 and a 2. So 5 damage total. But the skeleton has a defense of 1, so we do 4 hits on the skeleton. That is not enough to kill him, because he has a health of 7. And now the skeleton is going to strike back, and he rolls a 1d4. Unfortunately, I have no defense, so whatever he rolls, I am going to get in damage. And he rolled a 3, so I get 3 damage. All right, so now it's round 2. And I roll the 1d4 plus the d8. And I rolled a 1 and a 3, so 4 damage, which is enough to kill the skeleton. Yay, we got defeated our first monster, and we get 1 experience point for doing so. So he gets discarded into the first floor monster deck. And now it's the start of a new turn. All right, guys, it is the start of a new turn, and first thing we do is we flip over the timer card, and then we're going to move. We could move in the water. Water slows you down, so it costs 2 movement points to move into water. Just for space, for this example, we're going to move through the acid. When you walk into acid, you gain another damage token. So there's 1 move. And then for our second move, of course, we draw a tile. When we draw a tile, again, just to line up the arrow. And it looks like we've landed on another event. So we're going to draw an event card, and it is a bear trap. So we have to roll our dexterity dice, which is a D8. And we need to roll a 3 or greater to defeat it, so not too bad. If it's undefeated, the hero receives 1 damage token and immediately ends their turn. And so that would hurt with these timers because we've got less time to explore to try to find the stairs leading down to the second floor. And if defeated, we gain 1 experience point. So let's go ahead and roll a D8. We need to roll a 3 or better on our dexterity. And we rolled a 3. We just barely avoided that bear trap. And because of that, we got our second experience point. And now we can continue our move. So that was our second move, 3 and 4. And we're going to draw a treasure. So the treasure is an ice ring. So you could boost your strength, dexterity, or intelligence by adding a D4 ice attack. It also provides a defense from ice attacks with a defense of 1. So this is a really nice level 1 accessory. Now I'm going to pause here and talk about equipping your hero and what the limitations are, since we're starting to collect some stuff. So we've got this nice little illustration here. So in addition to the 5, or in my case with the adventure, 7 cards in my hand, you can have 1 item of headgear, 1 item of armor, 1 weapon, 1 boots, and 2 accessories, and this ring here is an accessory. The explore phase is done, and now we draw another monster because it is the encounter phase, and we have a rat. The rat does 1d4 minus 1 attack and has no defense and no elemental stats. And hopefully the next one, if the next monster doesn't have an example of elemental stats, we'll just make up an example so I could explain the difference between basically a main attack and an elemental attack. All right, so we have this rat. It looks pretty weak. So what we do is we are going to roll our D8 and our 1d4. This rat has no ice defense, so we're going to roll a second d4 for that. And we're going to make that the blue d4. And I've got one of my own d4s here for the longsword. So we roll the dice. I rolled a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That certainly is more than enough to defeat the rat who has 5 health. And so we gain another experience point. So we're up to 3. All right, so now I think we'll just move 1 more tile, and then we'll go through just a couple more examples of play as far as evasion and also elemental combat. So I need to move my character's stuff here. We are going to flip a timer card. He's going to move 1, 2, 3. He's going to move again. 2, D4. All right, so we have a potion here. When he lands on it, he will be able to draw a potion from the potion deck. When you take a potion card, you have to keep it face down, no peeking. You can only look at it when you decide to use it, meaning drink it. Just like my adventure did with the Venom potion, which ultimately killed him. All right, so there's no event or anything like that. So it is now the encounter phase. We're going to draw a monster, and this is a monster enhancer. So when you draw a monster enhancer, what you do is you draw another card from the monster deck, and I did not see this, I promise. So what we did is we just enhanced an elite monster. You can tell elite monsters from regular monsters is because the elite monsters, which I sometimes call boss monsters, the Sphinx has the orange writing, where regular monsters have the white writing. So what does this do? Enhance. The monster gets to attack first prior to the hero attacking during the rest of the encounter phase. Oh, lovely. So the Sphinx attacks first. It doesn't have a strong physical attack. 1d4 minus 2. So, and a defense of 1. So it doesn't have a very good defense. Wait till you get to those higher levels. But it does roll a couple other d4s. It rolls a fire attack d4 and also a light attack d4. It also has a shield against a fire attack and also a shield against a dark attack. All right, so the Sphinx with a health 11 is going to attack first. And so we always do the physical attack first. So we're going to roll the d4. It's 2 minus 2, which is nothing. That's great. And now we're going to roll the fire attack and the light attack. The fire attack will be the red and the blue for the other. And it really doesn't matter because I don't have a defense for either. So just rolled a 5. I have no defense, so I take 5 damage. So of my 19 health character, I now have 9 damage. That is no bueno. So you can see, you can go from a lot of health and quickly succumb to your injuries here. But it is now my turn to attack. And I've got 2 options. I could say, forget this guy, and I could try to evade. To evade a monster on a d6, I need to roll a 4 or less. So you need to roll your speed or less to be able to evade a monster you don't think you could defeat. But this adventurer, hey, he doesn't have retreat in his vocabulary, so he's going to attack. And so he's going to roll his d8 plus his d4 attack, as well as the ring, which will be the blue dice for the ice elemental attack. So he rolls his combat dice. He's not rolling very well on his d8. So I roll the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 damage. And you can see that the Sphinx has 11 health. So that's not very good. So we are going to finish this combat example off. It is now the Sphinx's turn. The Sphinx is going to roll, whoops, get a little crazy here. It's going to roll the d4 and rolled a 4, which now his damage is at 13. Plus he's got 2 other d4s, one for the light attack and the fire attack. And rolled a, oh, hold on here. I'm going to play this spell, Repel, used during the encounter phase, which this is, once per floor. I'm going to use it on the first floor. Avoid all elemental damage from a monster's attack until the end of the encounter phase. I should have played this up front, but I'm going to do it now. So I'm just going to flip it over here, and I am going to ignore that damage. So now it is my turn. And he's going to roll his D8. He rolled a 2 plus his sword, a 4, so that's 6. And then the ice attack, another 4. So we defeated the Sphinx, and we got 2 experience points and an additional experience points for the Monster Enhancer card. So a well-earned 3 additional experience points. On top of the 3 we have, we just need 2 more before we could level up. All right, so that was interesting. Now let us continue this. So let's say we move on, right? Move on the potion. We could collect a potion card. We have to keep it face down. And then, I always forget, I need to look at these. Gain 4 defense from 1 elemental attack. So that could help us now that we use the spell. You may play this immediately to defeat any one monster, then discard this card. Should have used that. And then remove 3 damage tokens from our hero, then discard this card. I am going to do that. So I put that in the back of the gem deck. I remove 3 damage, and so now we're at 10 instead of 13. All right, I almost forgot. I need to flip the card for the start of the new turn here. And so that was 2 moves, right? Picked up the potion, 3. Draw a tile, it's another event. And the event is farming. It has a bunch of skulls. Effect, roll a d6. If you rolled an even number, continue rolling. Keep track of each time you roll an even number. Remove damage tokens equal to the number of the even number rolls. If an odd number is rolled, stop rolling. Well, this could help us. So we're going to roll. I rolled a 4. So each time you rolled an even number, remove damage tokens equal to the number of rolls. So I take 1 of the 5 damages, convert it to 1. Nice. I rolled a 3, so now I stop rolling. So as you can see, some events are bad, but not all of them are. So I think you kind of got an example of how the game plays. What we're doing here is trying to find, so we've been 2 tiles away or 2 moves away to get to the stairs. So it probably would have looked something like that. And once we got here to the stairs, we go down and wash, rinse, repeat. So what we do is we break out the second floor cards for the treasure cards and the monsters, and then just clean up this, and then put our hero back down the stairs to begin to go down to the second level. So it's not a difficult game, but it's got a lot of nice decisions to make, and I find it kind of addictive. It's got a lot of variety because of the cards. It's got tons of monsters. Each floor seems to have a little bit of a theme. So we've got the rat skeletons we looked at that I discarded, zombies, gender raids. Each floor does have sheep, so it has a passive animal. And so the effect is when the card is drawn, just discard this card and all Monster Enhancer cards drawn this turn. Then you immediately end your turn. So the Enhancer cards give a lot of variety to the monster's abilities. And the abilities of the monsters just continue to increase as the levels increase. So what you want to do is obviously keep pace by leveling up. So what happens when you level up? Well, you do get a brand new spell, and that's how I keep track of what level I'm on, by the spells that I have in front of me. And of course, during the course of the game, you want to continue to collect treasure. And then you don't want to miss out on the artifact cards, which our first level didn't have. And thematically, as it should be, right? But the artifacts are very powerful items. The Ender Blade, strength, roll a d20. It doesn't have any elemental attacks, but that's powerful. Rocket Boots. Speed +3, and the ability is water and lava spaces do not affect your hero's speed. The rule here, it's not in the rule book. Oops. But the rule here is that you can only ever equip yourself with one artifact card at a time. The original rule book here does not have that restriction, but the restriction I found on a thread on Board Game Geek by Peter Jenk, the designer, and also he included it on one of his expansions to make it an official rule. And it is also on a FAQ or something like that on GameCrafter's website. So I think that is a good rule just to keep things balanced, because you could quickly get overpowered by having several of these artifacts, because they are pretty darn epic. And again, that's pretty much how the game works. I like this game for lots of different reasons. One, it plays quickly. It's not too difficult, yet it's very engaging. I like just the ton of variety in the cards, all the monster decks and the treasure decks. You have one for each floor from 1 through 10. You've got that clear goal in mind to find the lost pixel and then escape through the portal on that 10th floor. You've got the timer mechanism, which forces you to keep moving. And so sometimes you have to make the hard choice. Do I go back and try to get that treasure, or do I need to find an exit because I'm running out of time, or I may run out of time? The combat is engaging because you've got not only the basic attack where you roll whatever die you have here rolling against, but elemental attacks give you that additional dice, and that goes through the defense. So the defense for the heroes and the monsters is only good for that basic attack, that main attack. The elemental attacks, your defense does not absorb that, the elemental attacks, unless you have defense specific, to that type of attack. Like here, the ice attack, I have a defense of 1. If, like say, an ice elemental attacked me, I would get 1 defense. So combat is very interesting, and it's got basic math involved here, but it's very intuitive once you do it a couple times. The spells are very interesting and can be very helpful, such as repelling those elemental attacks. I'm glad I chose this one over the other card. And of course, with your hand limit, you want to keep cycling through and improving with the treasures that you find, your weapons and your armor and things like that, because you need to keep advancing as you go down the levels of the dungeon. So again, this is a fantastic game. Just a lot of variety with the heroes, all the different types of cards available for each level for treasures and the monsters. And of course the events, which you've seen a few, the artifacts as well, just very powerful items, and then really interesting spells. Don't forget those gems. Every time you level up, or is it go down into a new dungeon? Let me check, one sec. Oh, duh. So it's when you move down to a new floor. As I'm going to go down to the second floor, that's when I would draw a new crystal. So don't feel like you need to save these for a special occasion. Use these, like I said, because you get 1 per floor, and they are certainly going to come in handy. And also potions. I talked about the restriction in your hand. Potions do not count against cards in your hand, so you could have as many of those as you need. And let's just take a quick peek at the potion that we drew in our example. It is a random potion. So the effect is roll a d6, 1 to 2, remove 3 damage tokens, 3 to 4, gain 3 damage tokens, 5 to 6, nothing happens, then discard this card. Boy, this sounds like one of the locations in the Talisman game, huh? All right, but lots of variety here. So let's talk about this game. I love it. And I'm glad I own this game. I own a couple of the expansions, which I plan to review separately. And I like this game because of the gameplay. It's a easy game to learn, to set up, and to play. And with that said, it's very addictive. It's not simplistic at all. It's got some really fun decisions. It has interesting combat. It's got flavorful heroes. They each have with their own special abilities and the types of dice. It's got really a fantastic selection of spells, artifacts, treasures, monsters, monster enhancers, gems, and tiles, with the different terrain. And some you're just kind of forced to move into that terrain. As you can see. So it is a fantastic game. The downside is the rule book. One thing I would have liked to have seen is what version of this is this a second edition rule book, version 1.5? Because I know this game has evolved a little bit since it first came out, and so it'd be helpful to know kind of what version, just in case of future rule books come out. I saw on Board Game Geek there is a rules compendium which includes rules for all of the expansions. I don't exactly recall how many expansions there are, like maybe 4 or 5. I have 2 of them, so I'll have to take a look at that. So that may be helpful. But the rule book is not as tight as I would like it to be. So for example, the encounter phase has a combat example, but it really doesn't explain the elemental attacks. It just covers the physical attacks, or as I said earlier, the main attacks. But all it says for the elemental attacks is this process repeats for each of the elements. That's all it says about it. So it'd been nice to have a comprehensive example play that utilizes, defense, equipment, the physical attacks and defense, as well as elemental attacks and defense. So it doesn't say anything in here that your physical defense doesn't help an elemental attack. But again, it's not difficult. Just had to read it a couple times to make sure I got it right. But other than that, that's my main gripe. I think the main gripe for most people would be just accessibility. Again, this is a game that is made to order on Game Crafter, and so it's an indie design, but the components are nice, the gameplay is fantastic. Just unfortunately, it's pretty expensive. $151 just for the base game. So you're getting into a lot of money if you start getting all the expansions. And some of the expansions are worthwhile because, like I said, one of the expansions I have has all these lovely tokens. So you could place, if you searched a treasure, you could put a search token on it, or potion. And it's got, I think this is for one of the expansion rules, as is this, which hopefully I'll get into. This token is for one of the spells or one of the events, so for a game state. And then, of course, the ever useful damage tokens. So again, I'm going to revisit this game with the expansions, talk about it. One of the expansions I has allows you in between floors to go to a village and have adventures. I'm really excited about that because I haven't looked at it yet, so I'm curious to see what that's all about. But I highly recommend it if this is a game that you could afford, or like I did, get into like a crowd sale, because the final expansion came out, had a lot of these available, so I was able to get this at a more affordable price than the standard retail. So again, this gets 2 thumbs up. I love this game, fun dungeon crawl, and I do play this with the old type of music, the old pixel music. Like in the old 80s games. So it just makes it a little more flavorful and thematic. But again, super fun. I highly recommend it, and I will see you next time on the Fantasy Skirmisher. Bye bye.